Oh yeah, fresh switchback. Anyone else love a fresh, new, super clean, ready to go drone? I know I do. Let's get rid of that. All right. What is up? Welcome to my live stream. It's going to be pretty laid back. Going to work on building a drone here. Specifically work on building a new switchback. Because you can't have too many. Adjusting the audio levels here. If it gets out of hand, let me know. I'll turn it back down. But for now, just yell randomness. Yeah, I'm going to share this out to some of the internets right quick. I'm going to go super crazy, but just share it around. Share it around. All right. Cool. Shared it in the 533 team chat. But yeah, if only a couple more frames. Yeah, I think is 533. Let's check it. We'll go to the screen capture. I think the frames are currently out of stock, but they are due back, and it sounds like they're not going to get affected by the coronavirus like a lot of things did. So I need to pick up some more BFGs. Switchback frame kit. Yeah, it looks like they're out of stock right now, but they should be there. I heard like just in the next few days, should be any time those suckers will be shipping. So keep your eyes peeled there, set yourself an alert, that kind of thing. Have you tried the new Crossfire shot? Yeah, so I am currently, I've been trying the Crossfire shot. So there is, oh no, sorry, you're on the wrong screen. So yeah, I'm gonna put Crossfire in this. It's kind of a risky move. I am prepping quads and getting ready for Mayhem, which is, sorry, working on moving stuff around here. Mayhem is the big team race that goes on in Louisiana in a couple of weeks. What up, Wild Type? Danimal, heck yeah, same components going into mine. Yeah, solid stuff. Crossfire shot. Yeah, I've got it on 2 quads currently. They fly great. I've had no problems with like fail safing, and obviously it's the new updated OpenTX. It's the new updated Crossfire shot. It's been working fine. I'm still very apprehensive about using Crossfire in a crowded RF environment, and I guarantee you there are very few RF environments that are more crowded than the Mayhem team race. So, the way I'm doing this, I'm going to be putting the Crossfire receiver on the bottom of my ESC. I'm going to crack this sucker open. Yeah, I'm going to put my Crossfire, what's the receiver's called? Nano RX. I'm going to stick that on the bottom of the ESC. And probably zip tie the antenna. But it's not that much weight to where if I have issues, and half of my quads are going to be on Access, on the Access Protocol 2.4. 30 frames. Dang. A local group just got their order of 30 frames. Man, you bought all the frames. But there's the ESC. Essentially, I'm going to be ready to throw 2.4 on it. I'll have receivers probably pre-made up to top plates that I can just like pop on and roll. So yeah, I'm nervous about how Crossfire is going to perform when there's a bunch of radios broadcasting 900 megahertz. So And essentially, if you think of it, mayhem, the way team racing works, you have one guy flying on your team, and so there's 8 guys currently flying. Excuse me, and then there is 2 to 3 guys typically, at least the way our team does it. 2 to 3 guys that are like sitting there with their quads powered on, with their radios powered on, that could literally take off at a split notice. So like that's 8 guys currently flying, 8 radios turned on, plus another 16 radios at least turned on, and then let alone the other guys on the team, they may have just left their radio on. We'll probably try to manage that pretty well for batteries and stuff because it's such a long event. We'll probably try to make it a point and remind each other to turn our radios off if you hear inactivity alarm. Yeah, or maybe it could be part of the strategy that if your team has pilots that are not on Crossfire that are currently flying, then maybe every team member on your team should go turn on their Crossfire unit at the allowed power output, of course. But yes, if you haven't seen it, if you've been living under a cave, this is the 533 switchback frame. It's literally the greatest frame that's ever been built, designed, all those things. My buddy Mondo, formerly of St. Louis, he designed this sucker with the help of Evan, Heads Up FPV, the 2-time reigning multi-GP champion. Easily one of the top 2 fastest people on Earth. Any given day, who knows who the number 1 guy is, but I'd love to see him and Min Chin battle some more. Let's see. Kevin Turner, Evan Turner's father, the fastest dad in the world right here, joining the live stream. Just building this out. Cool. So yeah, the 533 switchback here, I like to go through, and I had one, so like I planned on rebuilding this quad today, but I had a frame, and those standoffs were kind of bent, and I'm like, I might as well just take that apart and use it for parts. Because there's something just really, really beautiful about just the freshness that is a new frame. So one thing that I do when I get a frame is I pull all of the press nuts that I don't use out, and you could put a screw in like that and then like bang it. Actually, I don't want to bang it, but what I do is I just put it in from the top side and then twist that sucker down. Oh yeah, Sean Taylor's a dad. Well, dang it. Yeah, well, Quad Doc is pretty fast. And how about this? You've got the fastest household in all of drone racing. That's probably true. Which means you're a slow dad. Nah, I don't think so. I don't think so. The fastest household in all of drone racing. Word on the street is that their daughter is quite the tiny whoop racer here recently as well. So, yeah, buddy. All right. I think so. I haven't actually built a lot of these out since they've made some revisions, and one of those is there's countersunk spots now for your 30x30 stack. Obviously, I'm not running 30x30. This frame works great for 30x30. It just works a little better for 20x20. So I prefer to build it out 20x20, but I had not. It actually work a lot better now for 20x20 or for 30x30 because of this. But I don't need those screws, so we'll set them off to the side. Danimal. So haven't flown beta flight in about a year, and we'll be dabbling on these furious race pits. Ever consider doing a beta flight dump? Absolutely. I will 100% share that with you, Mr. Danimal. Not that it's going to be great. I think I told you last weekend in Tampa, I'm not one that really notices really fine differences. I've said about Flight 1 that I prefer the flight feel of Flight 1 over the flight feel of Beta Flight. To me, it feels more responsive. Well, a mixture. It feels more responsive, but it also feels like it's more so doing what I want it to do. But as you notice here, I'm not flying Flight 1 because my slogan is, it is better, but not worth it. It's just too finicky for me to get it all working. Whereas Beta Flight just kind of works. So, Matthew Hill, get him, Sean. Hey, buddy. Matthew, also a part of the 533 world. Yeah, I'm kind of blessed. I had a short day today. I finished up a couple phone calls and then figured I would do this in hopes, I got some work I'll have to do tonight, but I wanted to get this done now in hopes that I can fly it before dark. So let's see if I can do that. Typically, these builds that are kind of a rebuild, or it's all gear that I've used a few times now. Obviously, typically they go a little quicker. So if you haven't done the 533 yet, you take a button head screw standoff. There's a lot of videos out there already. I've done one that explain how to build this sucker, so I don't need to get into that. But Danimal, sorry, I was back. Kind of got distracted off of the dump thing, and I will absolutely share with you a dump. The big things is you will want to update your ESC firmware. That's super easy though when you're on Beta Flight. A lot easier than some other firmwares. But cross-threaded that, I think. Let's commit. So update that to the latest, so that it responds correctly to the RPM filter stuff. But you want to make sure and update the ESC first before you turn on RPM filter, because if the firmware on the ESC is not ready for RPM filter, then it won't let you connect to the ESC. If you've got it on the RPM filter mode. But so that, and then my tune I got from one of the guys, I think Hoops shared a tune. Yep, 32.7. I'll probably show you how to do that right here in this stream too, just because I'm going to set this whole drone up. It's super quick, super easy. But yeah, Hoops, I think, shared a tune that he got, or he had help from MeWow, one of the fastest dudes on the planet as well. Got my little pill containers. Aren't those cute? For all my extra bits. But I got 2 of these, and there's the second one. So I'm going to keep some nylon nuts in. I use a lot of these nylon nuts for my builds. You've probably seen them before. So I use metal hardware, obviously. But then I like to use these guys as spacers. And I use 8 of them per build. Because I do 2 underneath my ESC. And then 2 over the top of it. Yeah. Let's see, Johnny 5. I noticed your plate is missing those middle press nuts. No, so yeah, you missed that. All those press nuts, Johnny, are right here. I just took them all out. I prefer not to use the press nuts. Yeah, yep, there they are. I keep those. I've actually used them on a few of my other frames. Heart of America FPV. We've got a full fleet of drones that we use for team racing. And those are all currently on Proton builds, and the Protons have an aluminum mid plate, and the bad thing about that is the screws that hold the arms tend to get stripped out, and so you got to get like a little nut or something to screw those in. And I've been using all my extra press nuts because I've been working on refurbishing all those frames, and all these extra 533 press nuts have been great for that. I mean, I take them out for a few reasons. Number one, obviously a nylon washer, or not washer, but a nylon nut is going to be a little lighter. That's kind of silly. That's a silly reason to do it. The big reason is I just try to get all the metal away from the bottom of the ESC. So I want to have as little space or as much space between any metal and the ESC as possible. Nurk's build, that he did with Evan on the live stream. His ESC made some fire. So it could have been because the ESC was touching something. I don't think just building the drone with ESC would touch anything. But in a crash, things can move around and wiggle and that kind of thing. That's more so what I'm concerned of. I think that Nurk just had a faulty ESC. He should have built it with the hobby wing. But yeah, so what I do is also these nylon washers are also just a tad, a touch taller than the exposed part of the press nut. As you can see, this bottom half of the press nut. Is that what that focused? My disgusting hands. The bottom half of the press nut goes in the carbon fiber, so the top part, the nylon nuts are about twice as tall. So that gives you a little more gap between the ESC and the carbon fiber as well, which cannot hurt. So that's why I choose that. I don't put an extra gummy underneath my ESC. If you wanted to be safe, that's a good idea. I traditionally put a lot of junk on my top plate, and so I'm trying to build it as compact as possible. That's why I don't put the extra squishy thing under it. Gummy, as they are called. But yeah, feel free to shoot, guys. If you have any questions, I am all ears. I do have the screen kind of scooted around here so I can try to keep an eye on the live chat. I love building these things. I love having a fresh one. Okie dokie. So there's that. There's kind of your middle pod. All set up and ready to go. Here's my ESC. I typically take these and cut my power leads down to 50 millimeters or 5 centimeters, however you want to look at it. So I cut those off. It's unadvisable, but I typically use the wire strippers that God gave me. My teeth. No, I've never had issues with noise causing an giving you trouble with an ESC. My previous iterations of builds, when I was running the Protons, I ran my RXs always on the bottom of the ESC, and I actually think that's a really good spot for it because you do get noise from your RX sometimes, especially 900 megahertz. You'll see that in your video, and so the big deal is, in my opinion, is keeping got a nice, clean, fresh solder tip today, and a new sponge for my iron. But what was I doing here? Oh, I'm tinning these wires. To me, the biggest deal is keeping your RX away from your video system. So that's actually why I kind of prefer it on the bottom of the ESC. The only problem is that if you need to service it, you're kind of donezo. It's a rebuild to service your RX. But kind of like what I was saying, because I have put a lot of my RXs on the top plate, if I have trouble with this RX, the whole thing probably weighs like 5 grams. It's super light. So if I have trouble with that RX, I don't have to take it out to replace it. I could literally just add another RX in and stick it to the top plate and call it a day. So that's kind of what I'm thinking for Mayhem if I have trouble, which I feel like I'm definitely going to have trouble. If I have trouble with Crossfire, the first step would be to put it on dynamic, not power, but to put it on dynamic hertz. So, you got your 150 hertz or your 50 hertz. 150 hertz is the lowest latency. So that's where we want to be. But if you're having fail safes, that's why. So you might put it on dynamic. So when it gets to where it doesn't have enough bandwidth, then it can switch over to 50 hertz. All right, here's this. Got this. I've had this for the longest time. I bought it, this little metal block. It's really nice for holding those XT60s because I don't actually use like helping hands or anything. There we go. So there's that. Here's this. Cool. Not too shabby. I like to push it in there a little more, but this was keeping me from that. The guys from Flight Test, when they're talking about hot glue, a lot of times are like globulations. Sometimes that's how I feel about solder. Just like get some globulations in there, but I feel pretty good about that. There we go. Just like to keep that short. The other thing I do, just for the switchback, these back standoffs are kind of close. Got a message from one of my teammates the other day who was building this frame with this ESC, and he's like, "How do you get it to go?" And I literally just push on the power leads so that the wires themselves are underneath the cap, and works fine. So, all right, next let's do some work to my receiver. Got some of this nice, awesome TBS heat shrink. Evan is the one that actually pointed this out to me when we were doing the practice session at Chiefs, that this stuff is super cheap from TBS. So I ordered some VTXs and stuff, and I went ahead and bought some of this. It's like $1 for a baggie of it, and a baggie is 25 pieces. So I was like, okay, let's just buy like $20 worth. So I have enough of it for life, which is pretty cool. Let's see. First set of X-Nova. Okay, yeah, good question there, Danimal, about the these motors. So these are the Heads Up FPV 533 motors. They are produced by X-Nova in conjunction. Obviously, it's a custom design, but it's they're produced by X-Nova. So a lot of the goodness that you get from X-Nova motors are featured in these motors. I've never personally flown X-Nova motors, but I did get this. Well, when I got this set, I actually bought 2 sets, and here they are on another quad. The weather here is garbage, but I've probably got 6 to 10 batteries through this quad now. I have traditionally been running the Hobbywing motors, which are phenomenal. I love the Hobbywing motors. You cannot go wrong with the Hobbywing motors. Here they are. Actually just took them off of this frame I was going to rebuild. But Hobbywing motors are incredible. I love them. I love them. I love them. They're on all of our Team Fleet drones. But the Hobbywing motors that I prefer, the 2306s, they are a lower kV. The Hobbywing motors are like 1750 kV. These bad boys... I'm going to open one up. These bad boys are like 1960 kV, so they are significantly more RPMs per volt, which just means they spin faster. Uh-oh. Prop note. So let's see, what did the kV say? Yeah, 1960, and I need to test these. That's a good point. I have not tested these for true kV yet. But when I'm running the Hobbywing motors, I run a very aggressive pitch. This past season, I ran gym fan props, so I was running like the Hulkies or the 51499 props, which are very, very aggressive props. But I felt like they gave me the top speed I wanted. And then when I switched to HQ here recently, I've been running the 5146 props that I had ran even way back before the gym fan props, and I like those a lot. They have a lot of top speed, so that aggressive prop paired with the lower kV gives you a nice high top speed. But I'll tell you, after flying Evan's motor with Evan's prop, which Evan's prop is a much less aggressive prop, but on a higher KV, I would say that at this point I do prefer the higher KV motor with a less aggressive prop. To me, at Nats, I actually ran the Gym Fan quad blades, and I really liked those. But for whatever reason, on my builds, I didn't feel like I was getting the top speed. Well, I don't think it was necessarily prop related. It was the whole system related. Essentially, when you got a quad blade prop, it hits the battery harder. Your battery can't deliver the amps, therefore you don't get up to speed the same. So I felt like the quad blades were kind of lacking in some top speed. And yeah, so these though, running Evans prop on Evans motor, high KV, low pitch prop, I feel like I get the control that I got from a quad blade, but they still just absolutely scream. So Nighthawk, hey buddy, what's happening? X Nova Delta, they make some good motors. Yeah, so far I'm very, very impressed by them. One thing that's really neat, when you put the prop on and you're like putting the nut down on it, you can literally feel the prop like pressing into these little spikes. So like, I don't think loose props exist on X Nova motors. It's important to note they do use a C-clip. I've always been a fan of bell screws, but I was chatting with the guys on the team and Evan says that he spent a lot of time talking to the guys at X Nova about the bell clip versus the bell screw, and he says that there are significant advantages to running the C-clip instead. And I've got a tool coming that will make replacing these a no-brainer. And so I think that's the way to go, is a C-clip, but just make sure you got the right tools. So if I was building this with 4S, I would probably put on the Hobbywing 2306 2500 kV motors. I think that'd be the way to go. Big Russ was whooping everyone's butt in Tampa last weekend, letting us have it. Yeah, Big Russ was dominating. I need to find the pinout for this receiver real quick. Take a little drinky drink. All right, so ground. That's right. Ground is by the UFL connector. It's ground 5-volt 1, 2. All right. Maybe use some blue tack. So this isn't ideal. This is a receiver I got off of one of our team builds. And it's got the UFL antenna like epoxied on, so it ain't coming off. I wish it was oriented different, but it is what it is. So we're gonna work with it. Yeah, that's just my preference there, Double A. Yeah, you were surviving some stuff there, huh, Russ? I just wasn't up to speed. You know, we were talking, Russ has the ability to fly at home too. And I think some of us guys, obviously I've got a great flying field here at my house. Some of us guys that do have the opportunity to fly often, when we don't get that opportunity, I think, at least me, I suffer if I'm not, like really flying gates super often. It's funny, when I go to a big event like Nats, where, you got a whole travel day, and then you get there and you're not flying a whole lot necessarily. Sometimes when I travel to an event, like that's the least amount of flying. It's less flying than I do usually. Cool. But yeah, just I hadn't been home, been on a cruise ship, can't fly drones really on a cruise ship. And I'd flown a couple freestyle batteries, not a whole lot. So it just wasn't up to the race speed. I felt like I was getting there, which was nice. I only had one working quad, and it was running Crossfire shot, I think. Something like that. So far, so good. I'm going to be going to Arizona in a few weeks, hang out with Mondo, and fly with Wild Type and those guys. I'm going to take these Crossfire builds down there and see how they do with a little more RF traffic. Let's see. No, Nighthawk's asking about Crossfire shot and reliability issues. And it's hard. Here's the thing. It's hard to call them reliability issues. Crossfire is incredibly reliable. I wouldn't call them reliability issues. It's a bandwidth issue. And it's like there's not as much bandwidth on how am I going to do this? I think I'm going to cut this. There's with 900 megahertz, there's just not as much bandwidth as what there is with 2.4, and so it's not just about the quads that, like I said, that are flying. It's also about all the radios and the pits that are on, especially in an environment like Mayhem, where there's a lot of pits, or there's a lot of quads powered, or a lot of radios rather, powered on in the pits. But it means there's a really high noise floor, and it's hard for you guys seeing that. Just getting my heat shrink action there on the Nano RX. That reed flow gun is a little overkill for that kind of thing, but it's nice to have. So feel good about that. Now, yeah, let's see. I don't trust Crossfire major event. Yep. Yeah, I felt good toward the end. Yeah, so I could be wrong. When it comes to the micro fail-safes on Crossfire, my understanding, and it makes sense, is that what we call micro fail-safes absolutely are like a split second of loss of control. But the micro fail-safes are actually, at least this is my understanding, I could be wrong, micro fail-safes are actually the system switching between 150 hertz and 50 hertz. So theoretically, if you have it locked down on 150 hertz, you won't get the micro fail-safes, but you might get real fail-safes. So it's like choose your poison, I guess. Trappy on their live stream this morning was saying that 150 hertz should be just as much range as 2.4. Obviously, your noise floor is going to affect that as well. But let's see. Yeah, I have to I have to agree with Big Russ there. You cannot go wrong with just going straight to 6S, unless you just have all kinds of 4S stuff and you don't want to have to buy both batteries. I personally would say just go with. Crap, put that on the wrong side. Personally, I would say just go with 6S. It doesn't cost you any more. You're a little more future-proofed on 6S. I'm so lazy sometimes. I was going to try to reuse freaking double-sided sticky tape. I got this massive roll of it. Zongying Lee. How's it going, pal? Yeah. I get that double A when you got all those 4S packs. It's hard to make the jump a little harder, but oh yeah. Gummy bear. I ended up buying another Tyrannus X9D, the 2019 version that works with Access. I'm pretty certain I narrowed my issues down to being related to my multi-protocol module that I was using with my Tyrannus. So at the same time, my Tyrannus was old. I'd lost confidence in it. The internal RF board did not work. And so I went ahead and took it as an opportunity to upgrade to that 2019 version with Access. And so far, so good. I'm pretty happy with it. I could have just bought like an XJT module, a new one, or obviously Crossfire would have worked fine with it. Eventually I need to sell it or something, figure out what I'm going to do with it. All right. So here is this. How do I want to orient this? Get my FC. I did break, for you guys that are interested, I did break one of my Furious FCs. I don't know what I did with it. So these have pads where you can select. Here, I'll just get this one out of the box. They've got pads where you can select the power you want to send to your VTX. And I was doing a VTX swap. I was going from an HV VTX to a 5-volt VTX. And in the process, I burnt up the pads. I pulled one of those little pads off. So that's something you need to be a little extra gentle with all of that. But so I'm just trying to figure out how all this is going to mount. So that goes. Oh no, we're going to use the wire harness that comes with this. That's right, not this one. So I'll put it like that. And that means the RX wires I want to come out that side. So this is interesting. This isn't going super quick for me, but I think it's just because I'm chatty. Slow me down a little bit, but makes it fun. D8 on Whoops, yeah. So I do still have multi-protocol modules. I just don't have a lot of confidence in them. So when I fly Whoops, I run them off of that for D8, and then obviously my radio works fine with D16. I don't really have a lot of D8 Whoops though. Hey, Amari, tuning in all the way from the great state of Iowa. I appreciate you not doing the beta DRL tournament last night, so someone else could win. I almost won. I won the second one, which only had like 4 pilots. Or like 7 pilots. The rest of us got spittoon kids. Oh no. Dang, there's not quite enough room in that hole. Darn it. Gonna have to figure that out, guys. Gonna have to figure that out. So, what else is... So, did you guys see that the Tango 2 is supposed to be coming out? Getting released Sunday on February 2nd, 2020? 2/2/2020? It says that it's the Crossfire remote, so I don't know what that means. Does it have... I've always gotten the impression that it's not going to have Crossfire integrated into it. So I'm kind of wondering what it means for it to be a Crossfire remote. Excited to see what all that looks like. Okay, so on this quad, guys, I think I am going to have to put an extra gummy between my nylon nuts and the ESC. I don't want to use orange ones. That'd be disgusting. Who says drone pilots aren't vain? There's just not quite enough room for my Crossfire receiver down there. Kind of forgot about that. So, we'll get some rubber gummies here. I'm going to just take 2 of them and cut them in half. There's a couple little gummies. How's it going, Jackson RC? Internal cross. Oh, so Nighthawk, you think it's got internal Crossfire? That's cool. That would be kind of neat. I hope it still has. Obviously, I would think it would still have a module bay of some sort. Yeah, I think for like 30, 35 bucks, you can get a multi-protocol module there, IV, that'll let you do D8. So if whoops are important to you, that's probably the way to go. Kind of silly that Crossfire did all that. Or not Crossfire, rather, that FR Sky did all of that. But they did. You guys been following the coronavirus? One of my tabs I've been keeping open is like a world tracker of the infections, assuming you can trust that. And either China's government has shut all that down and it's just fake now, or it looked like it actually slowed down significantly over the past 12 hours. So that's kind of exciting. I've been worried about the stock market a little bit related to that. Been kind of playing some things safe. But Amazon was up freaking 10% last night nonetheless. Vanover did an Instagram live stream 2 days ago and said, all I'm going to say that's interesting. Mexican beer virus. Got to watch out for that. I don't want to get that Mexican beer virus. How about Super Bowl? Anyone watching sports stuff on Sunday? My Kansas City Chiefs. Not that I'm a big sports fan. Not that I've ever really been much of a Kansas City Chiefs fan, but I've got a lot of friends who are living here in the north central part of Missouri, and they are excited. I am pretty impressed by their quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, and how he carries himself. I think that's really impressive from a young person, from a young whippersnapper, in contrast to a lot of what we see out of the NFL, I guess. But, all right, just tinning up this here ESC. Nothing quite as awesome as having a brand new solder tip. Love it. Amari, have you done Crossfire shot yet? Or Actually, last time we talked, you haven't even flown a quad in some time, so. Yep. Yeah, should be a good Super Bowl here this year. Should be. The church I go to is doing a Super Bowl watch party, and they're going to have church during the halftime show. That's kind of funny. Kind of funny. They won't have to listen to the devil's music, you know? And I'm like, I kind of prefer the halftime show over the football game, so. Yeah. Plus, if the Chiefs in the playoffs have been any indication, we should probably just have church during the first quarter. And then when they decide they want to start playing later in the game, we can watch it. Who knows? All right. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and, at this point, get my arms and motors all situated. Let's see. So this is the second set of these that I've installed. Over the past year, I've been using race wire on every build. In this one and the last one, I'm not using race wire. So I need to do my little T brackets too for these guys. I am using the side force generators because they're amazing. So at the same time as you install your motors, you need to install those. There we go. So I just put that little T bracket in there. So I really like how these motors have this little bracket that keeps your motor wires away from the bell, but it does make it a little hard to get the motor on the arm. I mean, we're splitting hairs in a big way. To say it's hard is definitely an overstatement, but it's harder. Still fun. Can this be the first one that doesn't spit smoke? Heads up, himself is in here. He must be home from school. And I would prefer if this one does not spit smoke. I feel pretty confident that it won't. These other guys have been doing these live streams, you know. Not going to make fun or anything, but they've got pit crews and all. Alright. Gosh. Without a doubt, Evan, this is the best looking motor in all of FPV. Like, nobody can touch that. I remember he sent the picture of a wheel and he's like, let's go with that. That looks awesome. And it sure as heck does. Oh, those tolerances. Look at that. Look at that. Freaking love that. I bet you could assemble this frame and not put the bottom plate on and still fly it. So awesome. All right. But I'm going to put the bottom plate on because I'm pansy. There we go. What field of work are you in? Good question. I am a realtor. I market houses. I'm part of a team. My wife is our team lead. She's been in this business for quite a bit longer than I have. My primary role is photography and marketing. So I put together a lot of our marketing pieces. Obviously, I take pictures of houses. I do show houses from time to time, work with sellers, that kind of thing. Ends up being very flexible, but you kind of work. There's not really on and off times necessarily. We live by our calendars. But some days we're busy, some days we're less busy. All of that. Figuring out the orientation here of the motor and the arm. Cable guy, nice. So you'll be there sometime between noon and 5 p.m., right? I'm just joking. Cable guy joke. I'll tell you, at least here in our market, the quality of the quote-unquote cable guy has gotten so good over the past few years. I remember when, like, our first house, people had just come to install it, and they just butchered everything, and didn't have that good of people skills. But the past 2 times I've had stuff installed, the guys that show up are just super sharp, super duper duper sharp. And I assume it's just because it requires a little bit more technical know-how these days, that they've really stepped it up. One-hour time frames, that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, Evan, if you've not seen it, Double A's asking you that if you were to build a 4S switchback with all these same components, except for motors, what motor would you put on it? What do you say there, Evan? Anyone racing this weekend? I wish I was racing this weekend. Yeah, buddy, just practicing this weekend. I'm hoping we're supposed to have some good weather. Right now, um, about a week and a half ago, we got like 6 to 8 inches of snow. When we got back from vacation, there was a solid 5 inches of snow on the ground. And today is the first day we've had above freezing since then, so it's melting. Um, so today is going to be around 40 degrees. Tomorrow is going to be in the 40s, and then Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, is supposed to be in the like upper 50s, or if not 60 degrees, which is just bananas. And so I'm hoping to get a practice day in on Sunday. I got some commitments in the morning, and obviously I want to watch the Super Bowl. But that I probably won't be able to fly my yard. My yard does not stay super dry. It's a little disappointing. So I was thinking I might either go. There's a covered like shelter that's like 200 feet by 100 feet in our park. It's all concrete and a metal top. Since it's warm outside because there's no sides to it, I might go maybe put up some pop-up gates in there and get some flying in, or I might go just find a dry spot in the park, maybe on top of a hill or something that's not super wet. Gosh, it's so awesome. And try to fly, put up some gates and fly, or we'll see. But yeah, I definitely want to get some practicing in this weekend. I'm always worried I'm going to put these like together backwards or something silly. Oop, okay, that goes there. Like I said, paranoid about getting it right. Yep. Excited for the season. I was on vacation last week, and like I said, I did so little flying. I was worried that I was like gonna lose it. And at least on DRL sim, I felt pretty slow the past few days. It's like I hope I can get it back. But I want to do a big, strong push this year. Try to get good, because guys are coming out of the woodwork so fast. That's weird. There we go. Yeah, man, take it easy, Double A. We'll catch you on the flip, man. Thanks for hanging. If you ever have any questions, just let me know. Hit me up here on Facebook. A little more responsive on Facebook typically, unless it's a live stream, obviously. Yeah, man. Where are you at, Ivy? Where are you from? I would say that if you want to be competitive on the DRL sim, it's going to be way easier if you have a good computer. It is pretty resource demanding. If you want to get some good practice and you don't have a super strong computer, I think the flow state sim is the best way to go. It's made by our teammate Sky, who's freaking brilliant. Okay. Okay, if we can get my RX wires out from inside of the frame, that'd be good. Okay. Let's see here. All right. Getting all 4 arms on here. Nice and locked down. Indiana, right next to Louisville. Nice. Cool. Down there by Mr. Winston, huh? Good deal. That's a good spot to be. I don't know, how long does it take you to get to... Ooh. Right. How long does it take you to get to Memphis from where you're at? I think between Memphis and Indianapolis, and then relatively easy access to some of the Ohio clubs, like you'd have a lot of good opportunities for racing. These press nuts are so strong. Like, you don't have that worry of stripping them out, really. Just, like, let them rip. I'm always, like, manhandling everything and stripping out aluminum stuff. But, like, you can really crank those suckers down. That's part of the rigidity of this frame, I think. Just having those good steel press nuts. There we go. So we got motors on arms. We got the T-connectors for the side force generators. And we've got our RX on the bottom. I think it's already actually bound and updated to Crossfire shot, so that's cool. And yeah, so next I guess we'll solder up our motors. There we go. Nice. The guys down in Memphis have a great club. If you ever get a chance, don't be afraid to go down there. Lundy's awesome. A lot of fast dudes. Fun environment. My closest race that's not at my house that I can go to is like 2 hours and 15 minutes. So 2 hours isn't bad at all. But I kind of like the fact that I have clubs to my east, kind of to my southeast, to my northeast. I've got clubs to my west. So I can really race as much as I want. Whereas if I was in a city, I'd pretty much just only have the option to race if the club in my city was racing. Which I've kind of noticed too, those guys that are in cities tend to be a little spoiled. I just can't imagine a world where you would drive to a race 2 hours away. It's like, no, but I can't imagine a world where I only raced once every month. I like this stuff. Alright. Motor 1 done. Yep, good spot to be in, Ivy. Here we go. Motor 1 done. Again. Sorry, returning some text real quick. Always working. Let's see. This year's my first year. I didn't compete much. Yeah, I'd say racing probably kicks off around March. Sounds like MultiGP is going to require that a club host at least 3 events this year before they host a global qualifier. So that might push more events earlier in the season. So we shall see. My desk is pretty dirty. I don't know where my tweezers are at. typically use those for motors like this. Pretty messy in these parts. I've got spare C-clips for days, though. Thank you, 533. Heads up. Gasp. Is this Sean not using race wire? Yeah, you inspired me. Heads up. Thoughts on making V-Drone the sim of multi-GP? Budget cuts. No, definitely not budget cuts. I have Heart of America race wire for days. So, sorry, I gotta message my wife here. Yeah, no. I'm just trying. I think you save like 2 grams for the whole build by not doing race wire. I'll be honest, this feels a little finicky for me. On the quads that are already built, that I'm probably going to put these motors on, I'm probably going to cut them down to 30 millimeters again and use race wire. I like it. It just makes servicing it so much better. My wife just told me I'm smart. LOL. She needed some password help. All right. Let's see. Danimal had asked about my thoughts on Velocidrone being the official sim of MultiGP. I think it's fine. I think that we in the community have always made way too much of who the official sim partner is or isn't or whatever. I don't think it matters. I think we just got to look at it from the point of the league, and the league needs money to operate. It's not free. I know it's hard to imagine this, but it's not free for these guys to do all this stuff for racing that they do, speaking of MultiGP. And so it's important that they can get sponsorships however they're going to get it, and whether that's DRL being the official sim partner. I would assume everyone's smart enough to realize that that's a financial decision on the part of MultiGP, but not everyone sees things that way. And it sounded like DRL wasn't willing to fork out the amount of money that MultiGP wanted for them to be this official sim partner. My guess. So here's the thing: if you got, just from a negotiating standpoint, that's another aspect of our business. I take a lot of, I guess, ownership over. I have to deal with a lot is just working with myself, my wife, and our other buyer's agent, helping with negotiations. But from a negotiating standpoint, MultiGP needs to look at DRL not just as 1 year worth of sponsorship, but like a lot of sponsorship opportunity over the next few years. So even if they couldn't come together on a number, it wouldn't be in MultiGP's best interest to be like, okay, we'll just take whatever you offered us. Like, if they've got another sim partner that they can bring in, i.e. Velocidrone, and let's say even if Velocidrone pays them a little less than what DRL might have to be the official sim partner, I cut this wire too long. It's better for MultiGP to entertain an offer from a competitor of DRL to kind of keep them honest. If MultiGP just takes whatever DRL offers them, then there's no. It just puts them in. I think it'll be okay though. When it comes to 5-inch quads, I think that the Velocidrone definitely handles better. To me, sims aren't about what's more real or fake or whatever. I think it's about just how easy is it to fly compared to what we're used to flying, and does it feel normal? And I know that when I've tried to fly a 5-inch drone on DRL, I can't. It just doesn't work. I never can get up to speed. But Velocidrone, I spent like a week trying to fly 5-inch drones on DRL, and then there was something on Velocidrone I wanted to try, so I ran over there and I got on a 5-inch quad, and it took, hey, see it, Ivy. Spent probably like 20 minutes flying it, and then I was totally up to speed. Whereas I hadn't flown that sim in like 2 months, so it wasn't like I could say, well, I was more used to it. I'd been trying to fly this DRL sim for a week, but I went over to Velocidrone and instantly, not instantly, but within 20 minutes, I was up to speed. Like, that to me says that there's something else going on there that makes Velocidrone maybe a little better. I think it's a mistake to think of that as realism. I don't think the Velocidrone is more real than DRL. I think that's a silly way to look at it. I think that we just got to look at it as like it's a different machine. I don't know that real is a good thing necessarily. Like, it's not really going to train you how to fly through prop wash, so like, why emulate prop wash, you know? It's just silly. That one wire is a little too tight coming off that motor. Cut it a little too short. So, that'll be alright. Yeah, the only benefit of no race wire is it's theoretically a quicker install. When you're doing race wire, instead of soldering up 12 motor wires, you have to solder up 36 motor wires. And that sucks. So. Yeah, DRL's physics engine does feel weird, but I just think I'd say more so than the physics engine of DRL. I just think the game feels weird. I imagine that their models are probably more realistic than any other game, but there's something about the playability of it that fights against the actual physics of it, you know, like, I don't know. The DRL Racer 4 in that game, I feel like is fun. I feel like it responds the way it should. I think the gamification feels good. But I just don't think that... I think we need to get over this which one's real thing. It's just like, which one's better? And I've told the guys from DRL that. Like, stop trying to be real. Just try to be better. Try to be the funner sim to fly. Try to be the most... intuitive sim to fly. Try to, you know, all those things. Alrighty. Cool. ESC soldered up. Tape this down, and then I'm gonna do a plug test right now. Make sure we get ESC tones. And I'll actually plug in my FC too and make sure we get that it lights up and everything. If you guys watched one of my last videos, I was talking about how I love this new, and it's not new, new to me, this Furious Race Pit FC is the one I'm going with. I literally bought a box of them. Since that video, I've had a lot of people reach out and say, well, I've had trouble with... I've had mixed bag. There's a lot of people that use it, love it. I've had other people tell me that they've had some QC issues with Furious in general, not necessarily about this FC. And so what I've been trying to pass on to everyone is, if you're going to try this $22 FC, then maybe plug it into USB before you take the time of soldering it up. Because that's the frustrating thing, is just soldering something up and then not having it work. All right. Which is which here? So I recently plugged in a 12-volt power supply. I just have it like right here ready for me for when I'm working on stuff. But I don't know which is which. Okay, plus is flat side, that's right. All right, see if we get ESC tones. You ready? Cool. We got the first 3 beeps. That's all we want. And then let's plug, before I get crazy soldering this thing, let's plug it into USB. Got that right here and just make sure it connects. That's what we'd like to hear. Cool. So everything's good to go there. Got my Crossfire antenna ready. I will say, Evan, if you're still in here, I still haven't found a great way to mount Crossfire when you're running SFGs. Now, obviously, if you're not running SFGs, you can put it on an arm, like every other frame or whatever. But when you're running SFGs, like, it's just kind of touching everywhere. I don't necessarily like that. So I'd like to figure out a good mounting solution for a Crossfire Immortal T antenna. Next, I'm going to put on 4 more of these little nylon nuts to give a little bit of a spacer between my FC and my ESC. And then I need to get one of the wire harnesses. So one of my favorite things, well, a few things. Let's talk about this Furious FC real quick. Where are they at? There they are. So here's the FC. Number one great thing that this FC does that nearly no one else does besides Hobbywing, because they're awesome too, is the gummies are pre-installed. So thank you, Furious. I appreciate that. Good way to remember. XD60. Ground is round. Thank you, Evan. I had never, ever thought of that or had a way to remember that. So this Furious board, the gummies are pre-installed. The other thing I really like, it comes with a bunch of hardware and stuff, which is here nor there. I don't ever use hardware like that comes with stuff. But what I really like is this is the wire harness. So this side over here is pre-set up and ready to go to plug right into the Furious FC here. Hey, Callie, welcome home. Callie just got home from school. Callie, say hi to the internet. Hi, say hi to the internet. I said say hi to the internet. Okay. I'm trying not to shout. I have a microphone on my face. Yeah, I do want to try that baby Immortal T there, Danimal. I haven't actually seen that in person. But anyway, so back to this Furious thing. So you got the ESC. It's already wired up on that end, ready to go. Then you have these all ready to go, and then you've got your connector for your ESC. So what's nice about this is typically when a wire harness comes and there's ends on both ends, or there's already the connector on both ends, it's wrong. It's almost always wrong unless you pot like the ESC and the FC together. It's wrong. And you have to unpin it. Well, when you unpin it, you make all these tabs loose, and it's a big pain in the butt. Well, here, obviously it's not done for you, but it's ready to go and ready for you to pin it. So you can just crack open the wiring diagram for the FC, which I have right here. And then on my computer, I've got the wiring diagram. I said wiring. The wiring diagram for the ESC. And I can just reference that. It's actually, I'm going to import that into the live stream here. Just 1 second. So there you go. So there's that. So I've got the Hobbywing ESC there, and then I've got the wiring pin out for this FC here. So I can see, obviously it's FC goes VBAT, and I like to get the orientation correct. I'm going to watch my own live stream here for the pin out. But it goes like that, and then so working from my left side, we need VBAT. Typically use this Here, knife to push it down. So VBAT. Next I need ground. On the Furious, the second one is current sensor. So I'm going to skip the second one coming out of the current sensor, and the second one in my ESC, I'm going to put ground. And this is different for every single ESC and FC combo. So, like, I never get complacent with this. I always check it. Always check it and make sure it's good. So there we go. So current sensor, and then current sensor is supposed to be third on this. So current sensor and ground switch. I think Danimal, me and you were talking about that in Tampa. You had said that. I couldn't remember off the top of my head, but that is in fact the case, that current and ground are just swapped. So current, ground, then telemetry. Telemetry there and telemetry here. And then I think motors just go 1 through 4 and motors 1 through 4. So pretty easy situation. I'll put that one in upside down. Swippy swappy. Fourth one just doesn't want to get in there. There we go. Cool. Typically push them in, give them a little tug. There's no reason to get in a hurry here. One of the more tedious parts of this whole thing. Cool. There we go. So literally just plug it in, plug it in. What's the procedure for updating Crossfire shot? Yeah, let's talk about that. Crossfire shot, you need to update a few things. So you need to update OpenTX, and you need to update OpenTX to a nightly build that you can only find from TBS, from their TBS Lounge page, which is a little frustrating, but at least it's there. So you go find that. You get the OpenTX companion. So you need that software to update it. OpenTX companion, you update all that, get it in there. So like that'll make sure that your Lewis scripts and everything are all good to go. You do that, and then you use the TBS agent to update your either your micro TX, the module for the back of your radio, or the big one. Sorry, just a second. Sorry, checking some stuff because I want to go over that how to do Crossfire shot. Crossfire shot. So you do OpenTX, you update your, OpenTX is the software on your radio itself. Then you update the software in your Crossfire transmitter, whether it be like the micro version or the full size version. You plug it in via USB, and there's a software called TBS Agent that lets you update the firmware in it. So you do that, and then you go through the procedure of updating your actual receivers, and you do that by binding the receivers to the updated TX, and then it always asks you, gosh, my phone. You just update the receivers using, or it updates the receivers rather when you bind it to the TX, and then you go into your Lua scripts and just make sure it's all set, and it says Crossfire shot as your protocol, and then whether or not you want to force it to 150 hertz, which helps you avoid those micro. My stack seems really tall. I'm going to try shrinking down a little bit. So one thing that's nice about using these nylon nuts is you can use them to kind of compress the ESC down and hold it a little more tight or tighter. Yeah, in the Lua scripts, you just make sure that it says Crossfire shot, and then whether or not you want it to force 150 hertz or be dynamic or be forced to 50 hertz. The upside of forcing it is you shouldn't have those micro fail-safes, because the micro fail-safes happen when it switches. But the bad thing about forcing it to 150 hertz is that instead of having micro fail-safes, you might just have regular fail-safes. So you have to decide there. But all right, so getting this on here. Being a little gentle about scooting it down so my pre-installed gummies don't become uninstalled gummies. One of them keeps wanting to come off on me. There we go. And then let's talk about this FC real quick. It's got a few things. So your VTX mounts on the front of the FC up here. Let me take off this picture. Actually, I'll just use another picture. Get the Furious picture in here. Shrink this down. Sorry, guys. There's a lot of neat features. They're pretty small, though, on this FC. I'm going to crop it in a little bit. 200, 300, 360. Okay. There we go. So here's our FC. So if you see my mouse on screen, this section right here is where you choose whether or not you want to send 5 volts or 3.3 volts to your receiver. So we leave that alone. It typically comes set up for 5 volts, which is what we want. Here you would select whether you want S-Bus or RX3. I always leave that as S-Bus because it doesn't really matter. And then down here, you choose whether or not you want to send VBAT or 5 volts to your camera. I like to send 5 volts to your camera. I always feel like I get much better video if my camera's running off of 5 volts. Over here, I've kind of chopped it off, but this section here, these two pads, the one circled in blue, if they're, let's verify this. I chopped it too much. What is going on here? Just saying, I keep editing the wrong thing. Okay. So you bridge it if you want the VTX always on, or you make sure they're unbridged if you want the VTX to be operated on a switch. Obviously, I love the pitch switch, so I make sure I operate my VTX on a switch. And then up here, these pads, this is what I burnt up on one of these the other day, is you choose whether or not you want VBAT or 5 volts to your VTX. This one I'm going to run with VBAT to my VTX. So, let's get rid of that for now. And let's check all these. Now that I've got a nice clean solder tip on here, I can really get in here and see what's up. I've got all that info on this tiny piece of paper that comes with it too. So that's pretty cool. So down here, it's set up to send VBAT to cam. I'm going to change it to where it sends 5 volts to cam. Yeah, I would say this is one of the less desirable things about this. Well, it's one of the more desirable and less desirable. It's more desirable because you can literally select what voltage you want to send to everything. I really wish that the Flight 1 FCs would do that. The undesirable thing is that those solder pads are so tiny that it's just hard to do. And then we're going to select that we want to send VBAT to our VTX. That's done up here. And I'm going to try to be very careful. I think I had trouble the other day because my solder tip was literally so bad. This one's brand new. Feeling the mid-afternoon shakes. What's going on here? I'm not getting a good angle at it. Okay. And try to heat up both of those little pads. There it is. That's perfect. Textbook right there. All right. So VTX on a power switch, that's selected. Obviously S-bus and all that doesn't matter. Cool. Let's go ahead and tin up the rest of these pads. So across the front, literally use all of these pads for your camera and your VTX. So tin those up so they're ready to go. Cool. And then over here for our Crossfire receiver, we'll do the back 4 pads are used. So and that just goes, I think it's from the front back, it's ground 5 volt RX1 TX1. So now that that's done, I can cut some of this off. Use the wire strippers God gave me. Kimbo, how's it going? Oh, the mouse wasn't showing up. Sorry about that. There we go. spit that silicone out so don't give me cancer. Meanwhile, I'm gonna breathe in these lead fumes from tinning these wires. Gosh. Alright, probably gonna use my tweezers for this one. And from the front to the back, ground, 5 volts, 1, 2. Callie, did you have a good day?
Yeah.
How did your tests go?
One I got 11 out of 12 on.
Okay.
The other I don't know. I think I did good though.
You don't know the other one? Did you have your retake today for the other test?
No, that's next week.
Okay. Oh, hey guys, I'm going to come off mic for just a second. I'll be right back. I just remember one of my daughter's friends was in a minor car accident this morning, so I wanted to ask her about that. What was that? Callie was just in a car accident in the hallway. You dork. All right. Are you okay, Callie? Are you okay or not? Are you laughing or crying? Both? She's wiped out running down the hall. Maybe that's why we don't run in the house. Now I'm sounding like my grandma. Did you spilled your macaroni?
Yeah, what? That hurt. I just fell on my face.
You fell? Oh, okay. She fell on her face. So my office right now is right in the middle of our house. We're hopefully we got a contractor who's going to build an addition. I'm going to be able to put my office in one of the bedrooms to get me a little less centrally located. Hopefully that'll happen soon. Alright, so this is the VTX wire harness. Wiring that up right now. And then I'll need to get a camera wire harness. So VTX is set. It's actually going great. The build's going super duper smooth. Let's see here. What do we want to do next? Camera, obviously. I have a camera that was on this quad I decommissioned. I'll try to find it real quick. And I'll try to check up on the live stream, see if you guys are saying anything important. Talking any trash amongst yourselves. Where did I put that camera? There it is. Cool. Camera found. Alright. What have you guys been saying? Yep. Awesome. How do I change my camera angle on Velocidrone? Good question. Getting TBS SMA mount, T-mount. No suggestions there. Miguel, welcome to the live stream. Yeah, honestly, no clue on the camera angle on Velocidrone. I'll tell you, if Danimal's still in here, he's the Velocidrone whisperer. He'd probably be able to figure that out. But I just don't have any idea. Alright, here's the camera harness. Don't need to cut that super long. And then it's got this voltage sensor wire that I don't use. I'm going to snip it off. Okay, strip these down. How long in on this live stream are we? I don't see a count. Oh, there it is. Hour and 47 minutes. Shouldn't take that long. I'm pretty close, though. It's just because I've been chatty. Alright. A couple little things definitely helped. Like already having the camera in the camera mount will help. I've already got the SMA connector actually in a SMA mount on a top plate. It's not the one that came with it, but it's already done. Phone ringing. Alright, let's figure this out. Where's my little sheet? So for the camera, voltage, ground, video. Okay. There we go. Alright, and before I get way a lot further, I just want to go ahead and check all this. I don't have a magnifying glass. I mean, I have one, but not like handy. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll actually use my camera on my iPhone to zoom in and check things. So like specifically I wanted to check the bridging. Yeah, that's bad. The bridge for the camera voltage looks awful. So I'm going to redo that. It needs to be bridged down for 5 volts. Kind of thought it looked bad, but it's hard to tell. I don't know what would happen if you were bridged to 5 volts and VBAT. But yeah, just a little hack there. Can you guys see that? Actually, that looks pretty cool on the stream, actually, doesn't it? So there's that. Or like, then up here for the VTX, we can check it. If that one looks good. As you can see, those little pads are so tiny. And then if you wanted to change those, or if you wanted to check, my solder points don't look great when it's zoomed in like this, but they're okay. I feel good enough about them. That VCC there isn't the best, or that one. Yeah, I feel good about that. It'll be alright. Alright, so all of that is good. I'm going to go ahead and get my camera in here. Oh, page up and page down will change your camera angle there, in case you're not listening. IV. The page up and page down button. Good to know. Alright, so what I do here, I got this from Mondo and Evan, is I take the little connector for the little control board to change your settings, and I shove it down the nose of the quad. What am I caught on? So this little hole here, obviously see that there, and then this just slips over. So there you go. looking pretty good. And then you got this ready to go. You can plug the little adapter board in and do your thing. I use a 45-degree camera angle situation. Here's my top plate. And actually gonna do it like this. I really like this VTX. It's just a little bulky. If you do try to do your VTX and your receiver on the top plate, it's a little much. You end up having to stack them, and then you got to keep your stack in your quad super slammed. But I think I'm good with putting my stuff underneath the ESC. If you put the receiver under the ESC, that obviously creates a lot more room on the top plate. And then just keeping your VTX on the top plate, keeping the two systems, the receiver from your control and the transmitter from your video in different places, because your control is most of the time, most protocols and stuff, your control system is also doing telemetry, which means it is broadcasting. Mind you, it's a completely different frequency, but if it's close enough, then it can cause some issues. That's what, the 900 megahertz thing is all about. For whatever reason, it causes these big bands in your video. There's that. I'd already put double-sided sticky tape on the back of this VTX, so it's good. Cool. And I'm going to back that sucker up like that. Look at that. I just love the way that fits like that. Okay. Press it down. Then you can plug it right in. Plug it in. Might try to find me an antenna so I don't burn up a VTX. Pull one off of this other quad. Yeah, so I officially have, this will be 3 quads built up with Crossfire, 3 quads built up with 2.4. I think that's what I'm going to take to Mayhem, is just 3 and 3 like that. Cool. All right, so next step. So Danimal, this is for you. Mondo, what is up, buddy? Love that VTX, a crossbar. Yeah. Kimbo, some people eat it without haircut, others sleep besides. Oh, I missed something from Kimbo. Oh, any advice for the TBS mount, T-mount through TPU antenna holder? Yeah, I'm not sure there. All right, let's do the ESC settings first. So we're gonna plug it into computer. All right, Evan. Let's see if we see smoke here. Is this going to be a switchback live stream without smoke? I guess so. No smoke. Sorry. Sorry to disappoint. But I don't have a crew of people to build Racer 4s for me, so I have to make sure I know what I'm doing, huh? I'm totally trolling too, by the way. All right. Screen capture. Uh-oh. Oh, no! Oh, I shouldn't have talked crap. What happened? Dang, no way. That is hilarious. I was over here looking at the computer, but you guys totally saw that, right? Or no, now I'm watching it back. What was that? Oh my gosh. LOL. I never smoke stuff, so I think so. I can't tell what caught fire there. You guys heard it booted up fine. What is going on? That's funny. Was it ESC that went up? I'm at a loss. I have no clue what burnt there. Oh. Something on the bottom of the FC, I think. There's a little bit of burntness on the ESC itself, but I think that's just like from the FC. But look at that. Okay. So there's the problems you can have with the Furious FCs. Dang. I had that coming. I was talking so much trash. It has to be what burnt there. And then that just like smoked, kind of gave a little smoked look to my ESC. Let's see if the ESC is still good. What the crap? Yeah, I think it's good. That was weird. Gosh, dang it. It is a curse. Stupid switchback live stream curse. Holy crap. That is freaking hilarious. I was talking so much dirt. Okay, what are you guys saying? Are you guys making fun of me? All right. I can practically smell that from here. I have not taken the trailer out yet. Man, oh no. That's funny. I don't think there was a short anywhere. Maybe, yeah, I'm guessing. Yeah, I'm glad I could brighten your day there, Mondo. So, I mean, like I said, I had people reach out to me and say, hey, man, there are some QC issues with that Furious board you've been raving about, and I didn't believe them. I'm in no way sponsored at all by Furious. I was just like, that's a really good feature set. I've had good luck with it. And then I totally just torched it, or it torched. I don't think I did anything wrong. That's funny. So freaking hilarious. So here's the one. I burnt this one when I was trying to change the voltage for the VTX, which I'm going to, it still works over USB and stuff. Actually, I'm going to plug it in here and see what happens. Okay. I didn't get the second set of beeps, but I think that's just because that FC is already set up for RPM filtering, and the ESC does not yet have RPM filtering turned on. So this is a brand new one that's not set up for RPM filtering. Gosh. No way, guys. That's weird. So this one didn't light up. Well, figuratively and literally. Oh, that's weird. me go back. This is the... This is the one that I broke the VTX power on. So I'm going to get in here to Betaflight and turn off RPM filtering and see if it'll give me the other beeps. Okay. Gosh, dang it. Okay. Alright, now let's see if we get the other beeps. Okay, this is crazy town. So this one went up in flames right on the live stream. I'll tell you, there's not an issue there. That component on the back of the board should not have went up. Like, my soldering wasn't perfect, but there was nothing bridged or gross. That's crazy town. Crazy town. So that's the one that burnt. Then this one is just like DOA. It works over USB, but the 5-volt regulator doesn't seem to be working. Crazy town. Okay. Yeah, look at that. It's not getting voltage. Wow. Okay. So 2 DOA FCs so far. That's crazy. So they had been 3 for 3 for me until this point. I've killed 2 boards so far, not 3. Okay. And I tested this with a used board and it worked fine. So I'm confident I'm not getting anything crazy from the ESC. There we go. That's wild. Oop. Okay, well, we'll solder this one up. Let's make sure it connects via USB. Yep. That's crazy town. So I'll tell you, when I did my live stream that was like talking about how I really liked this FC, and I'd had trouble with another one. I got a message from someone who makes a different FC, and they essentially said I was stupid and that these Furious flight controllers are the worst in the business, and then had some other people tell me that they've had issues with quality control coming from Furious. And yeah, and I think I told you guys, like, in my live stream, these, or not my live stream, but my video where I was talking about this flight controller, and I was essentially saying that, like, so far so good with it, and it was cheap, so I bought these for $22 each. But I'll tell you, to have 2 failures like that, out of, so that was, this would be FC number 4, this is FC number 5. So to have a 40% failure rate at this point is really stupid. But it's kind of surprising to have 100% failure rate after 3 FCs. I don't know. Weird stuff, so. Weird stuff, though. Alright, desolder all this. Now the key is to, like, not get in a hurry so I don't break stuff. got solder in my cheek. Anyone else hit their face with solder? I'll look back over at the comments here in a second. I'm just trying to get through this so we're not here all day. Yeah. What do you guys out there, what experience do you have with flight controllers? No, the pinouts are good. Yep, I've heard that about Furious Bad QC. I'd say this proves it. Oh, bad. So that one's smoked, and this one's just dead. That's crazy. Crazy. Okay. A little frustrated, a little disappointed that I've suggested this to people and have it be garbage. I'm sorry. Oh, so I need to do a couple things. I didn't do the bridges here, so we've got the one bridge up front. I need to make it 5 volts for camera. Gosh dang it. I just want to give my camera 5 volts. Okay, that looks right. And then back here, I want to give my VTX VBAT. The left 2. Just get in there and check it with the magnifying glass again. Sorry, I picked up my phone. I had to read. That's some memes got sent to me. All right. Oh, no. Sorry, guys. Worst live stream ever. All right. Here we go. We're back. All right. So using my little magnifying glass trick. Okay, 5 volt to camera looks good. And VBAT to VTX looks good. I didn't touch anything else, but we can confirm those two. Okay, 5.5. Where'd it go? All right, so we're at 5 volts for our FC. And then in regard to the pinout, ground, VCC, 1, 2 over here. That was a little close to my finger. Try that again. Okay. Then white I use for number 1. And yellow for number 2. This is hilarious. So, I guess what we take away from here is that 20 by 20 flight controllers, we're still on the hunt. Somebody, I know Kevin Lee thought about doing one, but it's been challenging, I think, to design a 20 by 20 flight controller that's not garbage. So that's what we need. I was so surprised. I thought for sure in my mind the thing that was going to be hard about 20 by 20 was going to be the ESCs. But I'll tell you, this Hobbywing ESC has been just as good as any 30 by 30 ESC I've ever had. 0.0% issues. Obviously, I've broken them from flying hard, but like the failure rate, in my opinion, is right on par. Like it's up there with the old school like Racer Star, BL Heli S ESCs that were so reliable. There we go. Oh, dang it. My head's all messed up. I was just soldering the camera connections onto where the VTX goes. So let's redo that. Oh my gosh. I should have knocked on wood earlier. I was like, I never burn anything. Freaking crap. Now we do VTX. I like to do it so the plug actually goes back this way. Millivolt, no way, man. Millivolt's such a pain in the ass. You got the if you want to run 5 volts for your VTX, you've got to use like 3 plugs. You have to repin everything. It's absolutely horrid. I hear they got a new one coming I'm interested to use, because the flight feel of Flight 1 is definitely superior to Betaflight, but it's just not worth it. Too much headache. But Saber, how are you doing otherwise, man? Good. It's one of the fastest guys in the country right here. Top 16 at multi-GP champs. Alrighty. Okie dokie. So, shall we try this again? That works. Hey, Maddie, how was school? Did you guys hear that? I'm live streaming, Maddie.
Why does it smell like that?
Because I caught I'm building a drone on the live stream, and it caught on fire.
Good job, Dad.
Thanks. So Maddie walks in the door from school and she says, "Something smells like it's burning." Yeah. Saber, that's cool. So going to Detroit, dude, that's not fair. If you go to Detroit, you're gonna get so fast. You and Johnny being able to like practice and stuff. That's bananas. That's cool though. It means I'll probably see you more. Have to get used to that cold weather situation. You got a an ice skating thing up there. I'd imagine that there'd be a pretty good ice skating scene in Detroit. Alright, so there's the VTX. You can set this in a way that nothing's like bridging or touching or silly. That's nothing crazy about that. Plug the USB in. Okay, it lights up, it connects. We get all the beeps there. Okay, I better leave that on stream in case we see smoke again. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm sure that replacement program's pretty nice there, Saber. All right. Let's see. Okay. I'm gonna get the screen capture up, but I don't want to do all screen because I. Oop. I want to make sure you guys can see this if it catches fire. What is going on? Oh, so random. Okay, you guys are watching. Tell me if you see smoke, okay? All right, there's that. And let's get BL Heli. So first steps first. I always like to do BL Heli first. I'm not going to update it to the latest version of BL Heli. But kind of the first step for me is I flash ESC, so COM port 4 is what I'm connected to. Hit connect, it's connected. Oh, read setup. There we go. That means everything's talking. ESC flash, and then this takes a while, but we're going to flash selected ESCs to 32.7. And good luck there in Detroit, man. Good luck. So you see this just takes some time. It's going through. The nice thing is it used to be with BL Heli 32 you had to like flash each ESC individually. Now you can just select them all and it just does them. So that's kind of cool. Where are we at time wise? Just 2 hours and 20 minutes. We'd be done by now if it wasn't for the smoke situation. All right, here we go. So that's all good to go. While I'm in BL Heli, it'll want me to reboot it, so I'll reboot this sucker. There we go. Uh-oh. Oh, no, because I'm still in here. Okay. unplugging it. I'm gonna restart BL 32. Plug it back in. There's all the beeps. Okay. And I'm gonna check motors. Just check the motor direction before I get too far. Okay. Motor number 1 is wrong way. What does that sound? There's something in this one. Oop. That motor sounds crunchy. Okay, so number 1 is spinning the wrong way. Number 2 is the right way. Number 3 is the right way, and number 4 is the wrong way. Right? So number 1, wrong way. Number 2, right way. Number 3 is the right way. Number 4 is the wrong way. Okay. Woo! Okay. ESC setup. So number 1 was wrong, so we're gonna let's go ahead and read setup rather. Read setup. So number 1 is what we're working on now. What I like to do is I like to get all the settings because some of these will be global. So motor timing I put at 24 degrees. I leave demag compensation on low, and PWM frequency I put at 48. That's what I do. Now I'm going to write this setup, and this is going to write those settings to all 4 ESCs you'll see here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, it wrote them okay. Now, when it comes to motor direction, I'm going to change. I'm currently working on ESC 1 because that's the one that's blue down here. So I'm going to select motor direction reversed, write setup, and as you can see, it only wrote to ESC 1. Next, I'm going to go up here to motor number 4. I'm going to right click it so it's blue now. I'm going to click motor direction reversed, right setup, right done. Okay, cool. Now we can come back to the motors tab, select it. What is happening? Okay. Weird. I'll tell you, it's doing some weird stuff right now with just staying connected. So we'll stop that. We'll come over here to beta flight and we'll check the motors here. Nope, I don't have props on. What is up? Okay, that's weird. Maybe it just wants me to restart it after I change settings. I don't know. There we go. So now motor 1 is spinning out, motor 2 spinning out, motor 3 spinning out, motor 4 spinning out. So we're good. Feel good about that. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to unplug the USB from this one. I'm going to unplug power from this one because you don't need to be powered up with the ESC to change beta flight settings, obviously. And then this is the FC that I broke. I ripped the pad off of the selector pad in regard to VBAT or 5 volts for your VTX, but otherwise it's a completely fine ESC, or not ESC, FC rather. And check back to the chat here. Nothing happening. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to CLI and get myself a dump. Because it's the same ESC, same FC, everything. Copy that to clipboard. Disconnect now. Unplug this one. And then plug in my new flight controller. But before I can paste that, I need to come in here and I need to update the firmware on this. So I'm going to type. So what I did, sorry, I'm doing it really fast and not being very descriptive. So I'll disconnect again. So I'm connecting to this in Betaflight. I'm going to CLI, which is kind of like the command prompt. And I'm going to type BL for bootloader. Now you see up here in the top right, it says DFU. That means you can flash the firmware. I'm going to click Update Firmware. Over here on the left, it'll eventually give me some lists. And it's already selected here. This FC is the Furious FPV Race Pit Mini. And I want just the latest Betaflight 4.1.3. Load the firmware that's downloading it off the internet. I'm going to flash the firmware. So we'll watch this now. I find it interesting right now there's no LEDs lit up on the flight controller, but it looks like it's flashing fine. It must be DFU mode. It's starting to get dark. I should probably charge a battery too. Get that going. Alrighty, so now I can connect. The new versions of Betaflight have this thing where they want to apply custom defaults, so I always just say yes. It does a little reboot sequence. And log back in. I just go straight down to the CLI. Now I'm going to paste, just literally Control C, that dump from the other one I'd already configured. And I will share this dump in the description of this video. I'll put a link to it. This tune, I started to talk about it earlier. I got distracted. I believe Hoops had Corey Miwo work on tuning his switchback. And this is pretty much his tune. Don't forget to type save and hit enter. This is pretty much his tune. One thing I did do, pretty much all of Betaflight 4.0 and above, I've had an issue at low throttle where the pitch access, you get these like weird like wind up weird I-term oscillations. And so the one thing I did change was on anti-gravity, I took it down to 3.5. You might be able to take it down to like 3.0. That kind of thing. I did remember I need to turn on bidirectional D shot because I had turned that off of the other one, so I could test to make sure the ESC was working fine. So we're going to save and reboot. Okie dokie. Other things we need to check. So Crossfire, that's correct. This is going to be Shames number 6. I should have did that before I saved and rebooted before. Let's go ahead and get Crossfire in my radio here. Like I said, I think this receiver is already bound and everything. Okay. Crossfire. That's weird. So this Crossfire receiver looks like it's bound. I have a green light on the back of my Crossfire. Green light on that. So let's go in here now. Let's check the configuration, or not the configuration, but the receiver tab. Let's see, we got, oh, it's currently fail-safed. There we go. So we have control. Now in modes tab, since this dump was from quad number 5, and I'm making it quad number 6, I'm going to make some adjustments there. to the modes tab. So the way I run it, aux 1 I use for my arm. You can see arm, disarm. Fail safe is number 3. I have it on a pot actually. Turtle mode, flip over after crash. That's on a momentary, aux number 2. And VTX pit mode. Oh, there we go. Is a switch there, aux number 4. So that's how I have all that configured. OSD, since this is a new FC, I think I need to install the font. I use the Betaflight font, upload font, and then it'll reboot. All right, so yeah, my rates are in here. I do 500 degrees per second. Filters look like they're right. I thought I was doing something a little different in filters, but we'll go with it. Yeah, this quad is completely set up now. We'll get rid of this screen, and then we'll go back to the quad. I'll get everything assembled and put the side force generators on. Here we go. And we'll be ready to test fly this sucker. How you guys doing? Yes, finally mounted TBS. Nice. Good job, Kimbo. Way to figure it out. Can be a little finicky, huh? Okay. So let's get the rest of this together. I'm just going to put a couple screws in this in the back. I think I've got, yeah, there's a... It's funny, this top plate apparently was from quad number 5, so I'll have to rub that off and redo it. But one thing that's always nice about a new build is that the holes match up with the standoffs. Kind of the next phase, in my opinion, in quad frame design is to figure out more frames with no standoffs, because they're always the part that break for me. Okie doke. So get these are the SFGs. They go on super simple, kind of one of the last things. Then we'll mount our Crossfire antenna too, or as well rather. Here's some screws. Probably be easier if I just opened the Ziploc bag instead of ripping it. There we go. Hello, world. All right. So here, the SFG is super simple. Now that you got your little T-mounts in there, you put the M3 screw through the hole in the T-mount. That's this little carbon fiber deal. And literally just like... This can be a little tricky because those T-mounts sometimes will want to be like slid up a little bit toward the motor. And so it might be a little tricky to get the hole to line up, but look at that. So 1 of 4 is done. So this one just needs some more convincing. I'm not sure what the deal is. Looks like it's lined up. There we go. Once again, these are steel press nuts, so like they're nice and taut. But gosh, this frame is so rigid. So freaking rigid. Alright, next. Yeah, sometimes these SFGs have given me a little bit of trouble lining them up. Just like push it hard enough, it'll eventually get there. Like I'm gonna try to push down on that T connector. It looks flush, so I don't know if Mondo's still in the chat. He might give me some tips here, but this one's being a little extra finicky. Gosh dog it. Okay, that one's getting me a little aggravated. So we'll try this one. What is going on here? Okay, now I'm just getting pissed off. Oh, that one's going in. Finally. Gosh. See, with the steel press nuts, like once it goes, it goes. You know, you don't have to really worry about cross-threading it much. But I don't know why it can be so finicky. So I can see now, like, the back side of these little T connectors are kind of popped up a little. Like, the base of Evan's motor doesn't actually fit that perfect. Just don't want to scrape the enamel on the motors. Or bend the bell, rather. Gosh. Okay. Hey, SFGs, and let your quad stand on its side. That's cool. There we go. Okay. So there's that. Let's figure out our Crossfire antenna, which has seen better days. We need a couple of zip ties here. All right. 3 zip ties. So a few things. First off, I always do a zip tie back here. I zip tie the capacitor and the power leads. I secure them to the bottom plate, or the mid plate rather. I say rather a lot. Of the drone. Try not to put the zip tie in backwards. It makes it a little harder on yourself. So, oop. Little inactivity alarm happening on my radio, but hopefully we'll be flying soon. Probably should have tested video and stuff, but we're just going to assume it's good. Okay. So there you go. So that's zip tied down, kind of helps keep it from getting up and into the props. So there's that. Let's go ahead and get the... I've been using... This is a good cold weather turtle fin Mondo made. It prints a little better for cold weather. The layers are perpendicular to the way it sets, so like theoretically it might hold up a little better. Some of the original 533 turtle mode fins can break in the cold, so since it's winter time, and I might just use this one always. Kind of like it. It's a little different than the other, so that's on there. I just want to get a all up weight. And then I don't love any of the options for mounting Crossfire on this yet, but we're gonna do it back here on the arm. Just go a little slightly different method here. Yeah, that's awful. Here, time out. Okie doke, we'll start over. So I want the antenna to be like kind of long ways like this. So try it a little different here. There we go. Cool. There's that. One thing I've adopted here from Flight Club and the Protons is I've been buying these. So that is a battery pad. I'll use this battery strap I've been using, and then let's get a set of props here. I was gonna try. The other one of these I built up with Evans motors. I used Evans props on. This one I want to try the R42 prop from HQ, which is a slightly more aggressive version of Evans prop. I just want to see how it compares, and then also see if I might want to run these with a throttle cap. So. Oh, these battery pads are so sticky. Cool. Battery pad on. Where did my battery? There, right there, right in front of my nose. Battery strap. I love this frame. Super easy to get your battery strap in. Dunzo. All right. Now we'll do props. Obviously, props out. Without a doubt. I've been going with this like all black motif on my quads. Trying to make it really hard to find, but I think it looks kind of slick. One of the first racers I ever built, I called my what did I call it? I had a nickname for it because it was all black. I thought it looked cool. Johnny Cash. Yeah, I called it the Johnny Cash quad. Oh, it's so satisfying when you put these props down onto these motors with these prop nuts. Like, you feel the prop like stick into the prongs on the top of the bell. So cool. Batteries are getting close. Definitely close enough to fly. I might do a hover test inside just so you guys can see that it does in fact fly. And then I'll go out and rip and I might upload some DVR later. But kind of some crummy weather. Alright, ladies and gents, there it is. 533 switchback. Should we see what this weighs? Now, I've been definitely not focusing on trying to make it light. So this is definitely a lot heavier than it could be. Let's see where it comes in. What's the best way to put it on here? Let's put that on and tear it. Make sure we're on grams. So with props and everything, it's coming in at 300, which is a little heavy. I'm not sure what I did. Maybe the Crossfire antenna? Oh, the SFGs. Yeah. That's a 300 on the dot. That's hilarious. But that is a very heavy switchback. But like I said, I didn't put any effort into making it lighter. So I'm sure you could do a lot of things. So let's get a battery here. Do a quick test hover. I will move the camera position so you can see it better. This battery's so roasted. I just leave it here on the bench for stuff like this. Hey. Hey. Hey, puppy. Alright. Yeah, stay back, Roxy. We're going to test fly this here drone. Can you guys see that? Roxy's pretty excited about it. Oh, we're upside down. Time out. Oh, come on. Okie dokie. So there it is. Alright, will it freak out? Oh. No, not freaking out. That's good. Alright, let me get back a little bit. Say, it kind of sounds a little angry. There it is, it flies. Cool. All right, so should I test video in the goggles? Race 1. Hey, we got video. Can you see in there? There we go. Yeah, not easy to see, but you can take my word for it. We got video. So anyway, guys, that's it. We're going to kind of wrap there, stop there. Thank you so much for checking this out. It was a good time kind of taking you along for the ride here with this build. It was nice chatting with some of you guys along the way. I definitely had a good time. And appreciate you checking this out. Maybe check back later for some DVR and that kind of thing. But we will see you guys. See you, Kimbo. We'll see you at I.O. And yeah, that's it. Take it easy. We'll catch you on the flip side on Heart of America FPV. Later.